I mean the kids who sit at the front row and then like whenever a question's asked, their hands up with like military precision, like those types of kids.
Yeah.
And then teacher would say, "Oh, you might laugh at those types of kids now, but then in the future they're gonna be like your boss." Like the answer is no, they're fucking not.
Yeah.
No, they're not, because they have no creativity, and the only thing that they've been trained to do is to answer these dumb questions set by some bureaucrat or administrator who has no creativity
Yeah.
and is training and molding the next generation of people to be exactly like. The only thing that's changed is our position in the structure itself. But why be in the structure when, like, what's the point of a structure if it doesn't produce results?
And that's lateral thinking.
Yeah,
Lateral thinking
exactly.
is getting out of the structure.
It's not about being number one on the structure. It's about saying, fuck it. Like, this structure is supposed to make me happy. It's supposed to make me fulfilled. And it's not doing that. So why do I need to be part of the structure?
Welcome to episode 10 of the podcast, the almighty 10th episode.
I mean the kids who sit at the front row and then like whenever a question's asked, their hands up with like military precision, like those types of kids.
Yeah.
And then teacher would say, "Oh, you might laugh at those types of kids now, but then in the future they're gonna be like your boss." Like the answer is no, they're fucking not.
Yeah.
No, they're not, because they have no creativity, and the only thing that they've been trained to do is to answer these dumb questions set by some bureaucrat or administrator who has no creativity and is training and molding the next generation of people to be exactly like them.
Yeah, to be exactly
That's
like a bunch of workers, like a bunch of like machines.
Like getting good grades is very important, but it's only an indicator. It's only one of the many indicators.
And do you know what? And you know what's also another big indicator of like why this kind of format of education I don't think works anymore? When machine comes in and machine learning comes in and AI comes in, guess how many jobs are going to be replaced as a result of this? And
that's exactly the problem, because school is preparing you to be replaceable.
Yeah, and then you know what's even worse? You can be like, oh, maths. Like, some people can be like, oh, I can just go on a calculator and that's it. And then your teachers be like,
oh, but in the test you don't have a calculator. But guess what, bitch? In the real life, I do have a calculator. It's called an iPhone.
It's called an iPhone, exactly, right? It makes no sense, right? What real problems that we have to solve are, for example, Gymshark. The owner literally went from not studying that well in school, not doing well in math. He only knew like how to do Shopify and like Illustrator and Photoshop and stuff. Started building a brand of clothing, had a very strong mindset, was a massive lateral thinker. And when I mean lateral thinker is like, you know when you're playing tic-tac-toe?
Yeah.
And then all the boxes are filled. And then you think outside the box. Oh, where do I put another circle? He puts outside of the circle and makes 3, right? That's what a lateral thinker is, thinking outside the box. How do I solve this issue? Like, and we need to be great problem solvers. Not only that, we have to be great communicators in the 21st century, and also we have to also have a great strong mindset when building something, right?
So that kind of like mental strength and discipline.
That's how middle class people. That's how I believe us middle class people can get from middle class to rich. And I think we need to instill this mindset, the strong mindset in us, to be able to then push yourself forward, right? It's also a matter of luck, let's be honest. It is true.
The luck is heavily involved.
Luck is heavily involved, but you have to position yourself to get that luck.
Yeah.
Right? Position yourself in terms of putting in the work, innovating, constantly changing stuff for your audience, for your like, for example, brand. Maroon 5, for example. Maroon 5 played a certain type of music for a while. You know Maroon 5, right?
Yeah, the band.
Yeah. They started dying down for a bit, but then they started completely changing up their style of music to then fit a new genre and a new trend. And that's how businesses innovate, and that's how they work. No teacher's going to tell you how to innovate. No teacher's going to tell you how to adapt and diversify.
But you know what? They should try to at least put you on the path to knowing how to do it. And that's what school's not doing. That's how it's failing.
Yeah.
Because, look, schools right now, what they want to do is teach you fundamental knowledge so that you can be customized into a specific cog in the machine. But what schools need to be doing is teaching you how to solve problems creatively under high pressure.
Yeah, solving creative issues so that not only can the cog run the machine, it can also adapt whenever something goes wrong.
It's not just about the knowledge you have, but the way in which you apply it. Because like I'm sorry to bang on about it because we're still absolute beginners, as I've said. But in jiu-jitsu, if just knowing the moves isn't enough, like
Yeah.
get
in different situations. You gotta try yourself in these different situations. Adapt. What if you only get like a side control? What if you only get like half guard? How do you get out of this situation? What if you're on your back then trying to get out? And like all these different scenarios, and then what if the guy's heavier than you? What if the guy's lighter than you? What if the guy's faster than you? What if the guy's slower than you? Like all these different scenarios, you have to adapt and kind of mentally just go through it.
And in jiu-jitsu, you can know all the moves, and then when you're sparring
you can still miss, exactly, right?
And that's like school, right? Because in school, okay, I know the differential
you learn a rubric. You learn a rubric model.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I know the differential equation. I know how to read and write, which is important, obviously.
What the fuck do we do with it? You know what I mean?
But it's like, okay, so you know all this stuff. So how are you gonna provide value for society? I'll work as part of a corporation, like to do some stuff. Like that. This is what school ultimately prepares you for. Like at best, okay, best case scenario. Let's say you do really well at school, and you're decent. You're pretty okay. Like your mind's quite nimble. But if you fall into the traditional schooling model, the best thing you can hope for is like what I like to call like a high-paying role of servitude. Like you're a highly paid slave working in an office for someone else.
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario.
I mean, like as a professor, for example.
Like you're still a slave. It's just that your slave collar is white collar.
White collar.
Yeah, like white collar work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't at this in the 21st century. I think the distinction is not between it's still to a massive degree like white collar, blue collar, especially if you look at like still industrial areas. But if you want to actually go and kind of transcend your own roots, it's not about what color that you have, but
it's
do you have it on at all?
Yeah, do you have any kind of? Do you have the guts? Are you willing to take risks? These factors all determine whether or not you can be a successful human being.
And it makes me sad when people say, "Oh, I'm a manager of yada yada yada, and I've got work privileges. My company gives me a car, whatever." Which is good, right? It's better to have a car than no car. But
is that your purpose in life? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, to get rewarded for being a company man.
Yeah, it's for being a salaryman.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't give a fuck if one of my class colleagues, right, from Shotton College or whatever school that I went or NYU or whatever, shows up with a massive Bentley because it's like, oh, I got this from my company. I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Like I really don't care.
And it just shows how much that human nature has not changed, because back 2,000 years ago, it's like, oh, the king let me wear robes of like this specific color.
All these are artificial things like that really don't matter. Like, why should people care about? Okay, I don't want to say this, but like, why should people care about Supreme?
Well, like the clothing brand.
Like clothing brand.
I thought that's like out. I thought that's no longer fashionable.
It's still pretty fashionable, not gonna lie. Like why do people still wear Louis Vuitton, for example?
It's flex that status.
Exactly.
Okay, this is kind of getting very philosophical, but then I was reading this part.
Like for me, I'll just finish off, but I'll say
go
like
for it.
For me, like it just makes no sense for someone just flex and then you have an emotion about it. Like if you are satisfied with life and what the work you're doing, then you're fine. It doesn't matter how much money you have. And also these days in this kind of in the 21st century, I feel like because we have gone out this stage of kind of being poor and like absolutely starving, and we have some level of like income.
And I think that's objectively good, by the way.
Yeah, that's good. Living standards have increased. I think as a result, people are not always looking for money. People are looking for happiness. People are looking for purpose in life.
And they're still unfulfilled.
Right? And I feel like most people who look for purpose have money, end up getting money. I remember Miss P, my form tutor, she was like, if you follow your passion, you follow your purpose, money will follow. Don't worry about whether or not money is an issue. Follow your passion, follow your purpose, follow your desire, your calling, and then money will always follow, no matter what. Because when you're doing good work and people can see that you're doing good work, like you're not faking it.
Yeah. Try to get good at something.
Yeah. If people know that you're doing good work and you're trying hard at it, they will start noticing, and then they will start giving you money and giving you the finances to do so, and rewarding you for it.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's about pursuing kind of competence and excellence in your chosen field rather than going to the field which seems to be most lucrative.
Yeah.
And also I think this idea that you have to be part of, because our parents,
a big firm,
a big firm where I am so high up in the kind of chain of command, like the hierarchy. Like I was reading this thing for like history stuff, right? Like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and he said the idea of dominion itself shows that you are still kind of bound up in servitude. So if I have to say to you, oh David, I'm so superior to you, like you have to obey me, like I'm your master and like you're my servant. The fact that I still have this concept of master and servant, or like I'm higher up and you're worse, the fact that I have this idea at all shows that I have not escaped from my own kind of servitude.
It's like the structure.
Because the only thing that's changed is our position in the structure itself. But why be in the structure when, like, what's the point of a structure if it doesn't produce results?
And that's lateral thinking.
Yeah,
lateral thinking
exactly.
is getting out of the structure.
It's not about being number one on the structure. It's about saying, fuck it. Like, this structure is supposed to make me happy. It's supposed to make me fulfilled. And it's not doing that. So why do I need to be part of the structure?
Acknowledge when you're not happy. And when you know you're not happy, then understand how to get out of that and find happiness, because you need to find happiness in this life. It's very short.
And I think if your entire career is basically you trying to play office politics,
basically.
Yeah, to get like control.
Do you want to define what bongso means to our?
I actually don't really know what that means. Why don't you define it?
Bongso is like sitting down and then collecting money.
Yeah.
Like in Monopoly, when every single time you're waiting for Go to come around.
Yeah, it's like
that's bongso.
My paycheck, boom. But it's, dude, if your entire
hoping
life,
shit doesn't happen in the middle of the way through.
People whose life ambition is to like control others, just it shows. Look, you need that kind of like command system when you need to like get shit done. Like if you
I understand like before why this exists.
I understand why it exists now, because in some circumstances, like the military or like a time sensitive project, you do need strong leadership, right? But if your entire kind of career ambition is to climb up the corporate ladder, then you just basically
and then hope for a chance. Oh my god, I can get a CEO position. Like that's not. That shouldn't be the goal.
I don't want to be like too controversial, but like those people, like when they go up and they want like extra like corporate perks, like a better like parking space or whatever, like how are you different from like a conditioned animal? Because you know how researchers get dogs to behave, right? If they get those tasks right, they get extra food,
like incentives.
Yeah, and then they get like a warmer bed, kind of more comfortable things, and it just goes to show that a lot of humans, or like even every human,
you're like playing a video game. You're like in a video game. Why should you be in a video game?
And you still haven't escaped from that kind of animal instinct of more food, more shelter kind of thing. But if you're in a developed country in the 21st century, those should not be your, like, okay, you need to take care of those. Like you need to have a place to sleep, and you need to eat
100%.
good healthy food, and you need to get enough sleep. But do you really need that kind of corporate like retreat, like a special retreat for employees? Like, no, you don't.
Do you need like a fuck ton of benefits? Do you like would you rather do a job you hate for the rest of your life and make more money as a result of it?
It's not even making more money. It's the idea that, if I get, like, I'm having a shitty existence now, but all I need to do is climb up a bit more in the hierarchy, and a bit more and a bit more.
But you'll never be happy.
No, because you're not doing good work.
Yeah, but the most important thing is doing good work, and I think that's the key message behind, like, I think this podcast in general. Just because if you're doing good work, you'll end up being in a much better position to launch yourself into from that middle to rich class.
Yeah.
And
I'll say that's our challenge. That is our war to fight.
And that is the hardest thing right now, because our parents have made it from poor to middle class, and have made that leap through education and going through,
but
like,
different problems, different solutions.
And like going through the education system and university, and then working in a corporate job, that worked for them. It's not going to work for us this time.
For them, it's about jumping hoops. For us, it's like 3D chess, like navigating.
Exactly.
Navigating
So we
through.
have to do it in a different way. We have to adapt, and it's about not letting. And by the way, if your parents tell you, "Oh, okay, no, David, don't listen to them," okay, fine, don't listen to us. But at the same time, take everything with a grain of salt, because understand that whatever they say is what worked for them.
I know it depends on what you want in life as well.
And also, if you actually talk to like CEOs and stuff who actually built their business from the ground up and don't have a degree or anything, you realize that they actually went through that 3D hoop thing themselves, right? And they're young CEOs and entrepreneurs and have money. That's the thing, they have money. They all have that same mindset. They all that lateral thinking, connections, building human kind of building connections with people, and then obviously developing these like working relationships, and then doing really, really good work, making sure that like there's a good office environment, a good environment in general in their workplace, creating like something from the foundation up, trying to be innovative all the time. Those are the people who end up
as
doing
part
well.
as part of that lateral thinking. I actually want to push back against not what you said necessarily, but a phrase that you used when you said like thinking outside the box. Like my answer to that to be like, why are you thinking about a fucking box? Like, dude, like, because the idea of a box means that you're still kind of everything you do is preoccupied by that structure. Forget about the box.
Yeah, for example.
Like I don't like the phrase thinking out the box. Like fuck the box. Like just
No.
do
The idea thing outside the box is like if you have a question, right? You just think of it directly as like, oh, how to tackle this question. But instead, in most situations in like the corporate world or in life in general, when you have to face certain situations, right? You have to think outside. Oh, what can I do? Not just like directly, like, oh, for example, like if I can't buy this burger right now, but then what should I do? Like, should I just wait until I have more money? Or the other way would be, can bulk buy food and then go and make it myself, and then it's way cheaper per burger, right? That's thinking outside the box. And then there's all these different ways of thinking outside the box and lateral thinking that allows us to work.
I would say forget about the box. Just do whatever works.
But do you know what I mean? Like
works.
lateral
No, I get what you mean.
lateral thinking is the definition of what I mean by what you dislike by thinking outside the box.
Yeah, but I guess the ultimate thing is like, are we the middle children of history? I think the answer is yes.
Absolutely, 110%.
But remember, the middle children of history, they don't get any like it's not. They don't have the pressure of being the first child, and they don't get pampered like the last generation. The middle children are the ones who are the most independent, and so that is, I think that's a struggle for our generation, is breaking out of that mold of conformity and finding whatever works best for us. Remember, it's about doing good work above all else.
Yeah, 100%. If you're doing good work and you love what you're doing and you really see purpose, like in changing the world in a positive way, then you're fine. Then you're on your way.
And you know what? If some people are like completely selfish, right? They don't care about making the world better. Okay, fine, but at least make yourself better. Because for some people, their goal is to make money. And you know what? If your goal is to make money, then make money. Like, there's nothing wrong with making money in and of itself. But the moment you subscribe to this kind of corporate ideology of I need to do all of A, B, C, D, and E.
My thing is okay. The mindset, the problem I have with the mindset of making money is
because there are many different ways of making money. Like you can create, like you can find new unexpected solutions.
Okay,
to doing it.
For example, if you think finding money is a mistake, okay, fine. But like, okay, you own a restaurant, but you hate owning a restaurant. That's not a great way to earn money. I'm sorry, because you don't know how to.
Okay, yeah, but that's just not a good way of making money. But I'm not against the idea of making money in general.
Yeah. I'm saying the foundation of making money. Like, obviously, making money for any person is a goal.
Yeah.
But even just before that.
But how do you make money?
How do you make money? How do you enjoy making money? And that's the most important. How do you enjoy making money? Because you can fucking be a restaurateur, or you can be a CEO of a massive tech company. If you don't like doing tech, you're not going to do well. You're not going to solve their problems. You're not going to help with their company and how they're going to advance themselves forward. Just like a restaurant, if you don't know how to like.
And that's
treat
why
food.
don't do something just so you can put it on your CV, because firstly, you're not going to do good work if you don't enjoy it, and secondly, it might not even look that good on a CV, and finally,
Have a narrowed CV. Have a narrowed CV in terms of, like,
but
a CV that like
I guess
shows who you are.
But I guess even on a even more meta level is, do you want your entire life to be summarized by a CV? Because there should be so many more aspects to you than
Yeah.
your so-called achievements on a piece of paper.
100%.
Because if a CV, like if a well-written CV has the capacity to define who you are and your entire life, then I think you fucked up.
Like, for example, basketball players earn so much money. Do you think their goal was to make money?
I mean, they probably wanted to be famous.
Yeah.
They
In the back of the head, yeah.
Yeah.
But their first instinct was, oh my god, I love playing this game, right? Obviously, in the back of everyone's head is how to make money.
Mm.
Even in our heads, in the back of our heads, like, how do we make money? Like, constantly, like, how do we make money with like our degrees and stuff? But how did we get into that subject? It's just the inner childhood in us, the inner boy, the inner kid in us that told us, David or Isaac, like, this is what you should do, and you really fucking like doing this, right? So keep doing it. And money wasn't an issue until we realized that we had to put a shelter on our head. But then money will arrive as a result of the fact that you keep pushing.
But I mean, in 21st century,
initiative.
it's very unlikely that you will end up in a catastrophic situation unless you make catastrophic choices.
Yeah, and also I will say this, right? Whatever industry you get into, understand that even though you may start off in a position where you may not like the job, or
you can grow to like some jobs.
Well, you may like it, but like, for example, some film firms, like editing firms, tell you to make coffee first week.
Oh really? Oh, that sucks.
It's fucking shit.
I don't know how to make coffee, to be honest. Like my every time I make coffee, it tastes like shit. So.
But do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Or like.
It's a kind of like you're the bitch boy culture.
Yeah.
And like
a rookie pick up all the trash bags, do all the chores and stuff, that kind of thing. But you understand that it's progressing towards your goal, and never compromise for nothing short. Like, value yourself highly, and be like, if I'm not getting the growth and learning that I want, then leave.
And if you just
be strong enough to leave.
If you're taking shit all the time, you should just get out.
Understand that you are worth more than that company.
And there are just some companies which simply aren't worth it. Like, maybe they're really prestigious. Maybe like they gave you bragging rights, but if you're not happy there and you get shat on by your colleagues,
yeah, it's not worth it.
There's no point. Also,
for example, just to wrap this up because it's a little over time now, but I will say this, for example, in my industry, right, as an editor, then it used to be in the 1960s, right, or 1980s, an editor had a few different roles. For example, the guy who colors the footage, the guy who cuts the footage, the guy who sound edits the footage, the guy who puts the subtitles on the footage, the guy who does what else is there? Effects on the footage. So there's at least 6 dudes doing it, right? And then there's probably 2 more dudes doing graphic design, right? Now it's, you have to know everything. And they expect that from an intern who they're not paying as well.
I feel like you're speaking definitely from personal experience.
That's called abuse. That's called like slavery. And also, that's unrealistic.
But maybe you should learn to do all this.
And absolutely you should learn how to do all those things. But that's when you know that's a bad company. Because they don't know their shit. And like, for example, I don't know for law firms, like if you know like any law firms who like who tell you to like do above and beyond, like who tell you like, you have to be able to write, be able to speak.
It hasn't really happened to me, to be honest, because whenever I go into like a set of barristers' chambers, it's like, you study history, so we're gonna let you off on that one. But everyone else in my age group who do law, they don't get as lucky. So I guess it's a kind of hidden advantage.
But how can you see between a bad firm and a good firm in terms of like I know you've been into a couple of internships.
Yeah.
Right? Like how can you tell which firm is like a good firm and which firm is a bad firm? Because in my eyes, as an editor, I can clearly tell what kind of firm is good in terms of their community culture like their culture.
One word, culture.
Culture, and what firm is like completely like off the rail, like what great and off the rails shit, and they don't really know what they're talking about. For me, it's if they keep telling you to like do literally be able to be Superman and do literally everything as a 19-year-old intern. I'm sorry, like, yeah, I'm supposed to like I know all these things, but at the same time, I'm not expected to
also
take on
this might not be relevant to all companies, but does it operate like a cult? Because I know like Apple is a big exception, because Apple operated like a cult under Steve Jobs, and it grew to be massive. But in the majority of situations, if your corporation acts like a cult,
do you know those people who are like, I'm not paying you, but it's for your CV, so like, you know, it's shiny.
and it's like, oh, it's not a career, it's an opportunity, dude. Like what? What are you talking about? It's like they expect you to have the entirety of your.
I hate those people. I hate those.
When they say, oh, the entirety of your life should be dedicated to helping them make money, otherwise you're not a team player. I mean, dude, come on. It's like, you know, like really dodgy gyms, really dodgy jiu-jitsu gyms, when they're like, oh, you need to obey your sensei, because good gyms don't say sensei, by the way, but like when they say you have to obey your sensei like in every way possible, that's when you know it's like it's really fucked.
Yeah, like when the instructor gets beat, that's fine in Calvin BJJ, right? That's okay. But if there's a massive ego in the room, absolutely not.
Or if the instructor refuses to roll with someone, or if it's like if a white belt has to apologize to a higher belt even if he's not in the wrong because of seniority, like that's not a good culture. Yeah. And you get the same things in corporate things. It's like
and yeah, again, understand your worth as a person, because you only live so long and you have to be in the right position, put yourself in the right place, put yourself in the right situation, always trying to innovate, always lateral think, and I think that's really the key to success.
And look, it's easier said than done.
Obviously, we haven't made it yet, but
but at least be aware.
Or else our podcast wouldn't be in this room. But anyways,
no, I think it's good that the podcast is in this room actually, because we all have to start somewhere. As I've said earlier, right? Perfection is the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
Look, imagine if we said, oh, we can't have a podcast unless we go into a professional studio with perfect acoustics and like $20,000 microphones. Yeah, and like a professional editor and what. Dude, we'll never get started.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we'll be on episode number 0.
Yeah, exactly. Guess who edits all the footage?
Thank you, David.
So. Anyways, just to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Be foolish in your pursuits.
Is this like, are you channeling Steve Jobs? Like,
no,
stay foolish.
I'm channeling Veer Das. If you know who he is, he's a comedian.
No, I've got no idea.
I'll show him after the podcast.
Yeah.
But stay foolish, especially if you're in like a more artistic field, let's say.
No, but even if you're a scientist, don't get sucked into the kind of circle jerk of academic citations.
Yeah.
You know.
But stay foolish.
Yeah.
Like let the inner kid in you rule your world, and you realize how.
I feel you're definitely channeling someone. Like stay foolish. No, it's not Steve Jobs.
It's Veer Das. It's Veer Das, bro.
Okay.
But channel that inner kid in you and then listen to it, because that's your real motivation.
Yeah, it's about getting good at what you do, being the best at what you do.
Yeah.
Like find a niche.
And that little kid that has always been in you, that's constantly telling you like this is your job, like, and when you realize like midway through your journey and you're like, oh, I need to like I hate this job now, like fuck this shit.
And every person
go back to that purpose. Go back to that little kid.
I guess my kind of advice to both myself and to everyone else is that every person should have a kingdom. There should be a specific domain in whatever industry you are in, like film, or like if you're a scientist, whatever. There should be a tiny little specific domain where you are the king. Nobody can contest you. Do you see what I mean? The kind of subspecialty, the kind of niche area where you create the most value for society. So everyone should have a kingdom. Doesn't matter how small it is, just make it worthwhile.
110%. And on that note, thank you for listening to the 10th episode of the Zero Filter podcast. Thanks for all the support. I really appreciate if you listen to the entire thing. And without further ado, please give us a a like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah.
And peace.